Hello, Sweet Home Arizona. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Now I've been reading headlines, but I haven't been diving into stories. There's just not enough time. And I was in that room on Friday and I heard it. And so I am going to just base most of my comments over on Sweet Home Maricopa, the first batch of videos that I'm about to record. I'm just going to keep all of my comments based on my observations of what happened, of kind of the aftermath in my experience, what I hear from Liz Harris, and a few headlines that I've read. But I posted a question over at Sweet Home Maricopa Redux based on Dr. Shiva's one of the points, one of the many points that Dr. Shiva brought up. I asked the questions: what is the explanation for this quote unquote anomaly, right? That the stamp seemed to be intermittent, or there's triangles next to the signature box, triangles that point like they're arrowheads pointing to the signature box, just so it's clear for everybody this is where you're supposed to sign. And in his presentation, he showed that those boxes were white, and so is the signature box, and it was black and white. And this is, as I understand it, the scans. He's presenting the scans. These are the duplicate ballots that they had to scan them because they were damaged for some reason or unreadable in the original pass. And there's a lot of problems with why Maricopa didn't even mention that there were duplicates included in this total count, right? There's plenty of problems here. But my question was, what's the explanation for this verification stamp kind of being whited out when it crossed the triangle? And so I asked, what are the explanations? Kind of plenty of good explanations, like climate change, space aliens, and outright, words that I can't say on here. But I'm glad I asked that question because I got actual credible, what I think sound like the most credible explanations. And you're not going to like it, but you've got to put your emotions aside, right? You got to put your feelings aside. If there is a credible explanation, you got to believe that. You got to go with that. And so I'm leaning in this direction. And I'm going to read, several people commented with the explanation, and I'm going to read the comment, the most recent one that I have allowed, like I held for review and then approved it. And it's by F.R. Duini. Now, some people call him a troll. I don't think I've banned him from any of the channels. There are trolls that I ban, but if you have intelligent opposition, you better listen. And this guy may not be, I haven't read all of his comments, but I do know that some people have said, that guy's a troll. Here is his explanation. And you may have heard this, and you may have read it already. So my question is, how do you explain this anomaly? Easy, says Arduini. It's an imaging artifact. On the paper ballot envelopes, the paper is green, the printing is black and red, and the triangle in question is solid black. To keep the image storage requirements manageable, the scanner creates a black and white version for archiving. The scanning algorithm that removes the green to keep the image readable also renders the solid black triangle as a white triangle, and that deletes any part of the stamp that crosses it. He doesn't include this, but somebody else did, that the reason it renders the black triangles white is to save ink storage, which is a reasonable explanation, or save on ink. In other words, this was a black triangle on the original. The stamp crosses the black. The scan removes the black within the triangle, which would also remove this part of the stamp that crosses the triangle. And as a support for this argument, there are other images that show the stamp crossing into the signature box. And in the signature box, the approval, the verification stamp within the signature, the white box, it is visible. All right, so even there's somewhere that cross the triangle and the box, and it's whited out in the triangle box, but is visible in the signature box. Okay, so I am leaning with this, but and F. Arduini concludes his comment by saying, how is it that Shiva couldn't figure that out for himself? It makes him look dumb. I have the answer to that question. Should I give it now? Sure, I'll do it now. Shiva had 2 weeks to go through 2.1 million envelopes. 2.1 million. He narrowed down his scope. He had to narrow down his scope. I don't know if he was told to narrow down his scope, but he narrowed down his scope to 1 point of verification on signatures. 1 out of 20, there's normally 27 point criterion. He narrowed down to 1. And he finds he's analyzing all this different information. What's the dates on these duplicates, or the duplicate, the ones that require duplicates? What's the dates on them? Oh, they're weighted toward after the actual people picking process. He has volumes of data to go through, and he's pulling out anything that looks like an anomaly. And he's looking at scans, not originals. You're going to overlook some obvious explanations. And if you'll note, in his presentation, he didn't make any accusations. He did not use the 5-letter F word. He just said, these are interesting anomalies. I have questions. These are the questions. And if there are valid answers to some of the, which there inevitably will be, when you have multiple questions, there will be valid answers. But you need to answer every question with valid answers. So this is what the opposition will focus on. See, this is the answer. It undermines everything, every question. Because this one question is answerable, then all of them are answerable. Well, answer all of them for us then, if you can.